And I think we're already live. Hey, Dennis, nice to have you here. My name is Amit, and I'm going to be your host tonight with our friend Dennis here. So thanks for being with us, Dennis, and thanks, Canon, for being a part of this as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for, I'm stoked to be here. I love talking about photography and storytelling and delicious food. What I really would love to do is I'd love to have like one or two of the cameras hanging out behind you on that beautiful camera wall. If I could just pick a couple out of that background. I thought it was like one of those fancy Zoom backgrounds at first, but now I realize it's real and I'm that much more excited.
Brother, this is all real. This is history personified. You know, we like showing off the world of photography, and this is it personified, like I said, in history all the way here. So we're going to wait for a couple of minutes as we start up and people to come in. I got a question for you, Dennis, while we wait.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, just one meal,
yes,
what would it be?
Thought about this question a lot.
Meal. Sorry?
I've thought about this question a lot. So my last meal or my one, like, are we talking about desert island meal? You've got one more, then you're on your way out, or I just can only eat the same thing every day for the rest of my life? That's a very different question.
You can only eat the same thing for the rest of your life.
Whew, that's a much harder thing to say. I'm going to go with pizza because bad pizza is still pretty good, honestly. You can eat pizza for breakfast in the morning. You can put an egg on it, no worries. Obviously great for lunch, great for dinner. Elevate that, put a little arugula on top. You feel like you're eating something healthy. Like, I feel like it works. It works.
Now, follow up to that question. What's your go-to toppings? 3.
Definitely pineapple. No.
We're not going to start controversy yet. All right.
We're not going to be divisive on this call, on this hangout. So, I mean, I honestly, I'm a pretty I love pepperoni. I'm a pretty classic kind of guy. Lots of them. Like, you're in Toronto, Maker Pizza they do pepperoni pizza right there. Anybody who's in Toronto, go out, check it out. They put a mountain of pepperoni on top. That'd be my favorite. A little bit of shaved parm, maybe some red chili flakes. Easy, simple, delicious.
Amazing. Awesome. So again, I want to thank you, Canon, for helping us be a part of this event. We've all been really excited for this. I'm going to introduce Downtown Camera for a lot of you guys who potentially have not seen our new shop. We're a independent photo retailer. It's been around for about 40 plus years in downtown Toronto. 2 years ago, we moved to a new location at 89 Queen Street, where we're now starting the steps of reopening, hopefully as this all goes along. In our store, we have a full complement of digital cameras, an exquisite used section with teams and people who are always ready to answer questions. And we also have a very big dedicated film lab. Yeah, we still do film here. We sell film. We develop film. We do black and white, color, E6. We have a 44-inch printer. And anytime you guys need film, we're the place. We're online 24/7 or in store too. And we ship all across Canada. So I think I saw someone from Georgia. Sadly, we don't go down to the States. But if you ever visit Toronto, come down and see us. As well, we have a special for everyone here tonight. Canon has a sale going on that ends June 24th, end of day. Well, for everybody here, if anyone is interested in Canon products, we will be extending that sale for you guys only until the end of the day, June 26th, 11:59 p.m. But that's not it. For anybody who wants to take advantage of this extended sale, we will be offering an extra 5% off the sale price or regular price for anything you would like to buy. We just ask you to do one thing for us. Email me. You can message back on the universe link. You can email me at ameetz, AMEETZ at downtowncamera.com. Let me know you want to take advantage of this promotion, and I'll be there to help you. So it's until end of day Saturday. You will get an extra 5% off sale or regular price, whichever one's better for you. So take advantage of it. Give me a shout, talk to me, and I'll be able to help you. That makes sense? That's pretty cool. And like I said, we have Dennis here. Dennis is going to speak for about 30 to 35 minutes and have a presentation where we'll get probably very hungry by the end of it. And then we're going to open up the floor to questions. So we have a live chat here. My colleague Pierre is moderating the chat. He'll be taking down all your questions. And at the end of it, we can ask Dennis any questions you may have. And hey, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our good friend here, Dennis Prescott. Dennis is an international chef and photographer, is a best-selling cookbook author of Eat Delicious and co-host of Netflix original series Restaurant on the Edge, in which he travels to flailing restaurants and transforms their menus to place them on the road to success. Once a struggling musician in Nashville trying to make ends meet, Prescott unexpectedly stumbled upon a different kind of art, the art of food, after checking out a Jamie Oliver cookbook from the library because he couldn't afford to purchase a copy. With a cooking style that combines international comfort food with influences from his Eastern Canadian surroundings, East Coast, Chef Dennis is known by over 500,000 followers for recipes and photographs that are attainable, relatable, delicious, hey, and beautiful. So Dennis, thanks so much again for being here. This is your show. Let's have some fun.
Love it. I don't really know how to come out of that intro, so I appreciate that. I did not write that. I have written them in the past, and they never worked out well. So someone much more eloquent than me wrote that, but I appreciate you reading it. So I'm excited to be here. First off, before we do any screen shares and anything like that, big thank you to Downtown Camera. I have been to the previous store. I have not been to the new store. I have seen photos of it. It looks amazing. The only reason I haven't been there is because I am in New Brunswick and have been for the better part of the last year. I have been for all of the last year. Let's be real, because we've all been where we are for the last year. But I'm excited for when I can get back to Toronto to come and visit, to see it. That wall looks amazing. Like I say, more than that, I just love what you guys do. I love your intentionality on on creatives and empowering people to take the best photos possible and follow whatever creative journey that is, whether it's film or digital or just setting them up for success. You guys do a great job with that. So stoked to connect here, and we'll be stoked to connect in the future. And thanks to Canon, as always. Canon Canada is a great friend of mine and have worked alongside them for a number of years. Love their cameras, love the people there. And if you guys don't have a camera right now, obviously, big promo going on. Highly recommend that you take advantage of that. It will help to take your photography game to the next level. It's also just really fun. And, we're getting into the summertime season right now. So why not get out, shoot some photos, enjoy the great outdoors while it's warm, especially if you're in Canada, get outside and enjoy the summer months, because they're only going to be here for a couple months and then we're back to cold again. So we're going to share this little screen here. And I am so excited to be here to talk about something that is really, really close to my heart, and that's food photography. Before we kind of get into the whole thing, I am going to introduce myself in a maybe a little bit less formal way and tell you guys about my journey, if that's okay. I was a musician. My name's Dennis. That's me right there, smiling. Definitely, they cleaned up my teeth with Photoshop for sure. They're much more white in this photo than they are in real life, I think. But my name's Dennis, and I was a musician. That's all I did. I was a musician for 10 years professionally, whatever that means, and spent that time on the road, living in a 15-passenger van, really traveling all across Canada and the United States, and playing gigs, playing shows, eating lots of great food. I only ate takeout, but really aspired to eat great food. But I had the most amazing experience when I was on the road. These are new images. This is kind of my life over the past few years, getting to it really just have the incredible gift, the blessing of being able to travel all over the world and cook with people and learn from them and get to tell great stories on my television show on Netflix. These are scenes from Malta and into St. Lucia. But this was my life before. I was a musician. Like I said, I lived in that 15-passenger van. That is a very glamorous tenting setup that we have. And then that's me with the one prized possession that I had of that guitar. And that's all I did. I decided in high school that I was going to be a musician. I went to university, and a guy with a van said, "Do you want to come on the road and play some shows in Virginia and Tennessee and North Carolina?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to do this more than my business degree." So I immediately dropped out of school. Sorry, Mom. And went on the road, and I stayed there for 10 years. In the back half of that time, I traveled, having traveled, like I said, really all over. We realized we needed a change. I'm from the East Coast of Canada. It is so beautiful here, and I love it so much. But as you probably can understand, if you know Canada at all, the music scene here, though incredible musicians and vibrant, it's not Toronto, it's not New York, it's not LA. We knew we needed to be in a better scene. At that point, really, social media barely existed. MySpace was in its early inception. And so we didn't really have a way to connect in the way that, at that point you connected playing shows, you connected going to mingling events. So we decided to move to Nashville, and we moved down there. It was the most creatively inspiring time of my entire life. I was completely immersed in a community of creatives. So all they wanted to do was make whatever that was, whether it was photography or painting or poetry, or there were writers, or there were great chefs, or they made artisanal beer, or they made great coffee. Like it was just creative overload. And I absolutely loved that. The musician's lifestyle, though, is rich in experience. That's it. It's only rich in experience. We made no money. So I was living in with a whole bunch of musicians in an apartment in Antioch, Tennessee, that had some bullet holes in the wall because there was a drive-by just before we moved in. And I slept with the lights on every night for about a year and a half so the cockroaches would stay away. It was very, very glamorous. And working out of a studio south of the city. So really, I wasn't taking care of myself. I was eating kind of pasta with butter on it, or I might put like Parmesan on top, like not Parmigiano Reggiano, Parmesan, the Walmart version. I'd put that on to elevate my butter with pasta, or dollar menu. And a friend said, "You should go to the library and you should borrow some cookbooks." I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I know you're not going to go to culinary school, and you're not going to, there was no, Pinterest didn't exist, and food blogs were just a new thing." He said, "You should go to the library and borrow some books and learn how to cook." And I said, I like vividly remember telling him, "You're crazy. The library does not have cookbooks. They have an entire section. It's massive, actually." So I went and I borrowed 3 cookbooks and I brought them home. And he said, "Why did you bring these? Or why did you pick these ones? It's all the same guy." And I was like, "I don't know. The guy seems happy and like kind of good looking. And I feel like I could pull these recipes off." They're all Jamie Oliver books. I just had never heard of Jamie Oliver before. And I vividly remember cooking the very first time for about 20 people. He was about 18 actually, and a chicken korma dish out of one of his books. And I just picked it because I knew I had made a record in England a few years back, and I had a korma dish there, and I absolutely love it. So I loved it. So I thought, I want to recreate this scene. I highly recommend not cooking for your very first time for 18 or 20 people. A little overwhelming, but I remember, after the stress and the hustle and getting everything ready, and everyone tucked in at the table and took their first bite, there was this moment of hush, and it just got quiet just for a second. And then people started talking, and it got louder and exciting. And that's what I fell in love with. That was the moment that I fell in love with food, because I didn't realize that you could have moments at the table that were the same as playing someone's favorite love song that reminded them of when they got together with their partner, or a song that reminded them of being in high school, or reminded them of their parents because it's a song that their mom or their dad sang to them when they were a kid. Like, I didn't know you could have these really important moments around food, because it just didn't exist for me. And I went from that to literally cooking constantly. It's all I did. I cooked literally from the moment I woke up in the morning until the moment I went to sleep. I cooked at the studio, went and cooked for bands. I cooked at restaurants. I did caterings. I ran a coffee and donut shop. All I did was cook with no real kind of plan. I just wanted to cook. Like I didn't think this was going to be my job. I wanted to cook. And I was cooking so much that I started to forget the things that I was cooking. So with my phone at the time, I started to take photos just as a way of basically documenting my journey, documenting and journaling the things that I was cooking. And then the same friend who said, "You should go to the library and borrow these cookbooks," said, "Have you heard of this new app? It's called Instagram. I think you'd like it. You should check it out." So I downloaded it. And the first few photos are random. I think there's a selfie and there's some other things. And basically every photo pretty much for the next few years, up until recently, was a food photo with no intention of me becoming a food anything. It was just the only content I had. It was the only photography I was taking was food photos. And at first they were horrible. They were terrible food photos. But I started to learn that there was a way to storytell, not just at the table, but through food photography. And I loved this community that I was connecting with online who wanted to share their story with me. And they could have been in Brazil or Toronto or New York or Los Angeles or France or wherever, but we just wanted to share our collective food stories together. And I fell in love with that because I thought this is the most incredible thing to be connected to a group of creatives. And that's what's happening right now. Anybody who's tuning in, you are part of this collective of creatives, and it's an honor to be part of this because as far as I'm concerned, it's the best community on the planet. We inspire and empower each other every single day. So I started doing, I started taking photos, and that led to opportunities. I wrote a column for Food and Wine magazine. They reached out and said, hey, have you ever developed recipes? Would you do 10 for us and take the photos? I hadn't touched a digital camera in my life. So I thought I'm gonna go buy one. So I went to a store. It wasn't, but should have been Downtown Camera. And I picked up a camera and I brought it home, and I learned really quickly. I got in the trenches and I figured out how to use this. And then flash forward to today, and I write cookbooks. I host television shows both on Netflix and History Channel. More importantly to any of that, I just want to be a great storyteller, and I want to inspire moments at the table. I believe that we have the opportunity as photographers to create emotion and action through our work. And from a food photography side of things, I think that we have the opportunity to inspire people to spend more time at the table. I think that, we, over the last year, it's apparent how much we need time spent as a community at the table, and how much we love that. And I think we have the opportunity as creatives to inspire that, to inspire people to spend more time with people that they love, and also people that they've never met, and share different perspectives. And I think that makes us a better society. And really, just telling those stories has become my passion. These are photos, most of them from the show. I don't know why I'm looking off into the side in most of them. And then the only one I'm looking at, I look grumpy with a mustache and sunglasses on. That was unintentional. But this is, what I do now. So at the end of the day, we're all storytellers, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is storytelling. I'm not really going to talk much about cameras. I will, but I know you'll have questions about that. So if you have questions, again, put them in the chat. We're all on a different journey with our photography work. Some of us are just starting. Some of us I just bought our first point and shoot, and some of us are using higher end digital cameras. So I want to make sure everyone's included here. So I don't want to go over or under anybody's head, if that makes sense. So if you have questions about specific camera bodies, aperture, all of that, we'll do that down the road in the questions. Obviously the folks at Downtown Camera are super empowered to be able to help you with that as well. One thing I will say in terms of setting up your camera, because we will talk a little bit about it, is, you need a camera. That's the first thing. You just need a camera just to shoot. That seems like the silliest thing. And I think that often you'll hear people say, well, your gear doesn't matter. And it makes us, it seems like, well, we're like, yeah, but it does, because you're using a beautiful camera. It helps. But at the end of the day, you become a better photographer because you take images. That's the only way to do it. Your camera cannot teach you to be a storyteller. It can help to empower you to capture great images. A lens can help you to create a story from a macro lens that's very, very different than a 14 millimeter wide lens. Those are two great stories, but they're completely different. So that can help you. But at the end of the day, you just need a camera in your hands and to shoot constantly. Shoot everything. Shoot your coffee in the morning. If you don't have time and you got to go to your work, like just shoot. I shoot with Canon cameras. Have for a number of years right now. I'm using their R system, the Canon R and the Canon R5. I mostly shoot on a 100 millimeter macro lens, a 50 millimeter lens, and a 35 millimeter lens. I do have other cameras and I have other lenses, and they come in handy, but that's kind of my go-to. People always ask, so that's the answer. That's what I always kind of go to. The biggest thing in terms of any of this is the bottom line. Props, backdrops, and fun stuff. And we're going to get into storytelling down the road, and fun stuff is a very technical term. You need to create a scene. You need to create a story. You need to paint a picture for somebody, and you want them to feel like they are part of that scene. The way to do that is to actually think, what would be happening in that scene? How do I want to create this? I'll talk about it in a few minutes, but a game day photo is going to look very different than a date night photo. That goes without saying, but it should be propped, styled, lit. Everything should be different and specific to that actual story. That's the thing that's going to set you up for the most success in terms of taking your camera, or your photography game to the next level with gear. The cameras, those will come. I started, like I said, on a phone, and then I got into a point and shoot, and then I got into a DSLR, and now I'm shooting in a mirrorless system. That progresses over time. I think the biggest thing you can do is get a camera that you love, get a camera body that when you wake up in the morning, you're excited to pick it up and to go out and shoot. This is what basically I'm using right now, save for the 24-105, although we do use that for video quite a bit. Light. Light is the biggest thing that I get asked about, other than gear. I will answer your question. I shoot natural light. Everything is natural light. Natural light is not better, and it's not worse, in my personal opinion, for food photography than continuous light or strobes or studio lights. I think that they both have an incredible home in what we do and in our craft. I used strobes for a very long time, especially when I was shooting a lot more commercial photography. I worked with Frigidaire as their commercial photographer and in-house chef for a while. And we shot, the beautiful ovens with the stainless steel and everything, and strobes. Just we were in a 50,000 square foot warehouse, so we needed those strobes. There was no light at all. For me, I've fallen in love with the natural light that kisses the top of food from the sun. So for me, this is all natural light, obviously with some Lightroom help along the way. But it's all natural light. Like I said, it's what I prefer. I think if you're starting out and you're just very new in your photography journey, natural light, in my opinion, is the best way to go to start. The reason is it's free. You have access to the sun. There is a definite learning curve on both sides of things, but the learning curve on using strobes is potentially a little bit higher. And then obviously it's an investment. If you're shooting professionally and you only have time later in the day to shoot, of course, they're going to set you up for success. But if you're starting, I think the best thing to do, shoot natural light. If you're not, cooking your own food, of course, these are my dishes, go to a restaurant. Don't go in the evening, go in the middle of the day, get a table by the window where you're going to be set up for success, and you're going to get those beautiful images with the natural light coming in from those windows. That is definitely how I would suggest that you start, and then go from there. And you might fall absolutely in love with shooting strobes, and there's nothing wrong with that because they are amazing as well. More than that, the story's everything. And I understand as well, I talk very, very fast, and this beautiful green tea is helping me with that. What do I mean when I say the story's everything? I think everybody says this. Every photographer you hear says this. They don't say it specific to food photography. They just say it to, it's a blanket brush with all photography. And it seems very heady and hard to decipher. With food photography, it's probably the one thing that is most overlooked, and it's the one thing that could take an image to the next level and often doesn't. What typically we do, because most people are shooting other people's food. Most people are not chefs and they're photographing their own food. Some people are, and that's amazing, or home cooks. And most people are going to a restaurant and wanting to capture a scene. And usually we take out our camera that we have and we take it about 3 inches above the food and take a photo as quick as we can, often so that other people don't see us, often because it's just our natural go-to. And then we put it away, and then we look at our image later, and then we're super unhappy with it. Why? One could be the light, because if you're shooting in the evening, you're never going to really love those photos. Let's just be real. It's challenging to shoot at night. If you're at a restaurant at night, and maybe take a phone photo for yourself to remember the moment if it's special, but that's probably not going to be for your portfolio. You're not going to put that on your CV. You might in the middle of the day. The thing that you need beyond that, though, is actually including the scene. What's happening there? Your plate is not the exciting part of that scene. The scene is what's going on around it. Is there glasses of wine? Is there candles? Is there cutlery? Are there other hands? Are you capturing a server pouring the wine into that glass? You're getting that action shot. Actually considering your surroundings is essential. And if the actual plate, often if the actual plate isn't as beautiful, maybe the surroundings are, and you create a lifestyle scene instead of an actual food scene, instead of a hero shot. So it's really taking a step back, looking at the greater picture, looking at the scene and thinking, how do I want to tell this story? For me, because I'm a studio shooter, and it's typically my own food, I have to think, well, what is that scene going to be, and how do I create that? Because I'm a chef, everything is flavor first. Everything comes from an ingredient side of things. So all of my food is real food. Often in the food photography world, there's a lot of doctoring that goes on, and a lot of petroleum jelly instead of maple syrup and things like this. I don't do that because I don't believe in wasting food. It's a precious commodity that we have, and I also love to eat great food, so I'm not going to waste it. That's for sure. But it takes some intentionality. So for me, I want to think about creating an ingredient-rich scene, and I want it to be nostalgic and mouthwatering and delicious. Well, how do you do that? It could be a macro scene. These are all shot with the new Canon RF macro lens, very close. You've got salmon roe in the middle, a beautiful blood orange on top of a cocktail, some olives. That can be a scene. It doesn't have to be far away. You don't have to capture a ton of hands and everything, but you need to think, what am I trying to tell here? It can be something that's a little bit more top down, a little bit more of a grander story. Of course, the story in this image being the strawberries. I would take one of those biscuits right now too, but the strawberries are the scene, and they're ripe and they're beautiful and they're in July. And I wanted to tell the story of celebrating the strawberry, but I don't want to just celebrate the strawberry. I want to celebrate it with my friends, with my family, with my community, which is why there's a lot of food. Because for me, I want to inspire, I'm painting a picture that this is a family style meal, right? I could have had just one plate with one biscuit with one strawberry on it, and that just looks like I'm eating by myself. Nobody knows what's going on there. It goes without saying, but it's often the thing we don't think about when we actually create these scenes. What do you want your scene to be? It doesn't have to be family style. It doesn't have to be single serve. It doesn't have to be macro. It's your story. So tap into whatever your story is, but really run after that. Think about all the little minute details, all of the little small things that are going to really create an accessible scene to the viewer at home. The best thing that we can do is imagine that there's a fly on the actual wall looking down into our situation, into what's happening in that image, and what would be happening there if that fly on the wall was looking into it, and then we recreate that, because really tapping into that kind of fly on the wall moment creates accessibility, attainability from the viewer at home. We need to put ourselves in the viewer's shoes. We're really there to set them up for success, right? It's not about us. It's about the people who are looking at our image. How do you do that? Well, you can do it in a number of ways. First, you have to determine your story. The next one is your hero. So your rock star. It's that thing often that, it's I always say Bono because I'm old, I guess. And I was a YouTube fan, but whatever, The Weeknd. It's the dude who walks into the room and everybody turns and looks at, whatever that is, or Beyonce, or whoever it would be. It's that unspoken thing, you need to determine what that's going to be in your image. It can be the noodles on the top left-hand corner of the screen. The reason that they're being pulled and you see that they're a little out of focus is to create this motion moment in there. So because people relate to that. We've all had pasta or noodles or something on a fork or chopsticks and pulled them up and they kind of wavered a little bit. That's an accessibility moment. It goes without, it's subconscious, but people do recognize that. It could be this beautiful pork chop in the middle. Obviously these potatoes or the horseradish cream it can be anything, but you have to determine what your hero is. That determines your focus, because you as the photographer control where your viewer looks. So because you have the opportunity to tell that story, you have the opportunity to get the viewer to look directly at what you're focusing on. So you control your focus that way. That's where you actually, like when you go on your camera That's where you actually focus. And it helps to anchor your styling because you style around that hero. The hero is the centerpiece. It doesn't need to be in the center of the photo, but it is the center focal piece, if that makes sense, of your image. It is everything. It's the thing that holds it together. And it could be a beautiful, why I want a burger. So composition. And I know we're going fast, guys. There's only so much time, so we're going to roll through as much. And like I said, ask any questions. I'm here for as long as you need me. Composition is this thing we've all heard. Rule of thirds. We've all kind of probably watched 1 or 15 YouTube videos explaining this. How I view it a little differently, and you'll just roll with me for a minute. Food photography is unique. Yes, the rule of thirds and all of that absolutely matter. When you view a photo, if you go to a gallery, you go to the Met or wherever, and you go and you view a beautiful Van Gogh, or if you look at your TV, or if you look at your phone, you subconsciously will always view that from the top left-hand corner to the bottom right-hand corner every time. I don't know why we do that because I'm not a scientist, but we do that. So if you know that your viewer's eye is going to naturally draw through the frame, like this beautiful motion like this, then you can style that way, which is how I style. So for me, I want people to live in my photos. I want people to spend time there. I want people to invest in it. And if I style it beautifully from the top left-hand corner to the bottom right-hand corner, I know their eye is going to naturally go that way. And I know if there's visual interest across the frame, they're going to spend more time looking at my photo. So there's a lot of things that come with that. From a social media side of things, not that that's why we create, but it is part of the game in 2021. It means higher engagement. That's like brass tacks. More importantly, we create way more impactful images. We create images that people actually can see themselves in. You want to capitalize on space. You don't want to have one bowl in the bottom right-hand corner of your frame, and then everything else is just empty concrete or empty wood or empty everything. You also, on the other hand, don't want it to be so busy that it's overwhelming. So you want it to feel natural and authentic. You want some things to potentially fall off the frame, just peek through the frame. But you're really creating this beautiful, almost feng shui kind of thing, which I don't really even understand what that means, but you know what I'm saying, in your photo. And you want to create accessibility and nostalgia. That's not composition, but it kind of is, because it plays into that. You want that fork to just slightly fall off the plate. You want there to be a little bit of sea salt that potentially is on the side of the plate or on the wood in these photos, or the table. You really want to create this moment where people see themselves in that actual frame, in that composition. These are things that actually take it to the next level. Of course, all of the natural things like the rule of thirds, etc., make a lot of sense, and they help. But these are the little kind of the little nuance, a little je ne sais quoi that will take your images beyond that to the next level. And they've been very helpful for me. This is another image actually shot on the Canon RF 105. Beautiful, beautiful lens. Movement for me is essential. And you'll notice if you follow me on Instagram, and I very much appreciate it if you do, there's a lot of movement in my images. There's a reason. We live in a video obsessed, overdriven world. I literally drove my car earlier today and I saw billboards with video. Like, you can't escape video. And so as photographers, we have to compete with that, on some level, and take these one-dimensional images and make them 2 or 3 dimensional, or as close to it as possible. And what I will do with that often is add movement to my images. Movement creates this feeling of accessibility. It also helps to bridge the gap. And often, that could be white wine being poured, like in the bottom left-hand corner of this, somebody's hand with mussels on toast. Obviously the sparklers, that's like a 4th of July burger situation happening there. It can be wine being poured. It can be the noodles that are slightly, being held and out of focus. It can be if you're at a restaurant, it can be a server in the background that is moving very, very quickly, and you shoot on a slower shutter speed so that they're out of focus, and then your food is tack sharp in focus, so you're creating this idea that the restaurant is busy. It can be whatever you want it to be, but movement will absolutely help you in creating images that are attainable and accessible, because people picture themselves there. Everyone's been at a table where some liquid has been poured. Everybody's been at a table where someone has handed them a plate. Everybody has picked up these noodles and they've shaked a little bit. These are moments that people actually feel because we do it on a daily basis. Most of us are fortunate enough to eat 3 times a day. So we're acutely aware of what these actions are. So if you can put those into your images, that's where accessibility comes in. That's where people picture themselves actually doing that. And that's where engagement and interest rises. And you want to find, I talked about it a minute before, that imperfect that perfect imperfection. You know, it's if you look back at food photography in the 90s, which no slight on it, that's for sure. It was very, very perfect. It was very pristine, white tablecloths, everything just as it should be. The mise en place was in its right place. It doesn't seem real. We don't eat that way. I've never, and I've been in the food scene for a long time. I don't even like eating that way. I want to wear my Led Zeppelin shirt and my backwards hat and go have a great meal. So for me, and I think that's most of us, and yeah, we love celebrating, but most of us just want real, and I think that how you do that is you get beyond this idea that it has to be perfect. I think often when we start, we want everything to be clean. We wipe the table if it's dirty, but if there's a few basil leaves that fall, if there's some sea salt, if there's some lemon, if a little bit of wine drips, I think that actually helps to elevate your story because it creates real. And you want to have real in your photos as much as possible. I got raked over the coals for this photo because you are not supposed to serve caviar with a silver spoon. Did not know that. And so that was my real moment. People were not very happy with me. Apparently, my cards are showing, and I'm not normally a caviar eating kind of guy. Create real. And the last thing that we're going to talk about for storytelling is what I'll call the drip moment. So there's this thing and I'm going to show a photo here of cookies. These are my mom's cookies. I made them. They're her recipe. And I ate them honestly, probably every single week when I was growing up as a kid. I ate these cookies. I absolutely love them. My mom is not a great cook, but she makes better cookies than anyone I've ever met. It's the one thing she can cook really, really well. And I wanted to, I always wanted to recreate this recipe, and it kind of dawned on me one day, this idea of this drip moment. And actually, I equate it more to ice cream than cookies, but this is the best example from a photo. When I was a kid, my brother and I used to go to the ice cream shop. We'd get on our bicycles. We'd ride down to this local ice cream parlor, like too much, honestly. And in the summer, and we get our ice cream. I always got mint chip and fudge because I've been an old guy forever, even when I was a kid. And also, it's really good. And I remember being 13. And what do you do when you get ice cream, right? You leave, you go under the awning, you go into the hot sun, you've got your ice cream cone, and immediately it starts dripping. And then you go down to lick it. That's the moment, I think, that is most often overlooked when it comes to food photography. It's the drip moment. It's the actual moment of nostalgia and connection, and that thing that reminds you of being a kid, the things that brings you immediately back. And it could be dipping your mom's chocolate chip cookies into milk and watching it just drip off a little bit so it doesn't drip off you, and then you eat it. It could be anything. It could be whatever you remember. And it doesn't have to be food that you fell in love with when you were a kid. That's just an example. But it's this thing, this very indistinguishable feeling of nostalgia when it comes to food. And food is powerful. It is the one thing that we globally connect on. The only thing that no matter where you live, what language you speak, where you come from, when you've lived, that we all connect on. We all share food, and we all have moments of breaking bread together. So you really want to create these drip moments in your food. If you think about it, what is that thing? What's the one thing that my viewer is going to connect to? Maybe they've never had chicken korma, like that first dish that I've cooked, but they might have had a curry. So create that moment for them, recreate that thing in that scene, and inspire them to want to go and eat that. You know, for me, it's I want them to cook my recipes. For most of us, it's we want to inspire them to go eat at our favorite restaurant, or we want to inspire them just to eat more together as a community. But you can find that drip moment that will act. I 1,000% am convinced, because it's worked for me, that will take your food photography to the next level, because that is the great connector. That's the one thing we will always connect on, is that drip moment when it comes to food. This was a lot of information that I've shared in a very, I think I'm on time. I actually am a few minutes over. And I hope that that's helpful. That is basically when I view food photography. I view it maybe on a subconscious level these days, but definitely I go through these checklists in my head. Am I creating a drip moment? Am I composing properly from top left-hand corner to bottom right-hand corner? Is there movement? Is there accessibility? Is there retainability? If there's not, honestly, I feel like I look at those images and I just go, it's okay. Like, it's well exposed, but anyone can learn how to properly expose a camera. Learning storytelling is the thing that takes time. So go out, actually think about your storytelling, actually think about what the scene is that you're trying to recreate, and make those moments and make them count. And that will, like I said, it will take time, but it will come, and you will see an engagement and an investment in your images, I guarantee, like you've never seen it before.
That's awesome, Dennis. Thank you so much. That's a lot of information compacted in, but all very important. So, man, thank you. That's amazing. By the way, I forgot to say something. Did you just recently have a birthday?
I did have a birthday, actually.
Happy belated
yes.
birthday, friend.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
That's awesome. It was a big one too, eh?
It was. Yeah. I know I look 25.
It was your 25th birthday, right?
It was my 25th plus 15. Yes.
There it is.
And yeah, I'm proud of it. You know what I mean? Like I earned every single one of those days. And I also feel like this is the cheesiest thing any of us will hear tonight for sure. But you know, it's every day. Like I remember my dad when he was a kid, he said every day is a gift. And I think I thought that was the cheesiest thing. But I think as you get older, you realize, you're like, man, especially over the last year, like we're super fortunate to be able to get up, to make things, to create, to have a community that we get to share things with. Like, this is a very inspiring time. So for me, you know, I'm ready to go. Like, let's bring on the next 10.
Yeah, right on, man. That's awesome. Your work stand on its own. It's absolutely amazing. We got a bunch of questions, so I'm just going to get into, well, before I get into it, for anybody who showed up late, I am going to reiterate that we do have a special for everybody who's in on this event with us. Canon, we are extending the Canon sale until the end of day, June 26th. If you want to take advantage of anything that's sold by Canon, by us here, just email me at amitz@downtowncamera.com. Let me know. Not only will we be extending the sale price until the end of day, June 26th, we'll also be adding an extra 5% off the sale price or the regular price, whichever one it is. So it's a great time. If you've been humming and hawing on a certain product, give us a shout. We're here to help you out. Like I said, it is until end of day, June 26th, 11:59 p.m. You'll get an extra 5% off, but you have to message me first. So let me know. AmitZ@downtowncamera.com. I'm gonna have some questions. Are you cool with that, Dennis? We got a couple minutes here.
Let's hit it.
This is from Darlene Calderon. I hope I said that right. If I ever say any name wrongs, I apologize. Outside of photography, are you eating this food cold? If you are eating it, and or is it already cold and photographing better at that point? And it's a two-part question. When adding sauce, are you doing this right before the shot to be able to contain it, or do we need to consider things like this?
Sure. So the first question is typically no. Typically it's not cold. It always was for a long time. I think that often food photography is cold. If you're wondering, if you see a shot in a magazine, you think it looks beautiful, it's often cold, because often there's a layer of oil, or there's something in there that's not real. I mentioned at the start, I only work with real food. The reason is I'm a proud member of the Chef's Manifesto with the World Food Program, and we work on hunger issues, sustainability, and waste issues, and have rolled this out globally over the last few years. And so for me, waste issues are very close to my heart. So I could never, it just doesn't track well with me. I also am often feeding people, and they don't want to eat cold food. So as a byproduct, I've gotten really good at pre-prep for images, so that people can eat, whether it's crew or friends or family. So I think a lot of thoughtful, a lot of thoughtfulness going into the shoot will help set you up for success, so that you do get those images. I think, we were talking before the call, and I think, our natural tendency with because of the digital camera age that we live in is to overshoot. We shoot 100 photos for one image. And I think if you think about that image, if you get your lighting set up, if you get your backdrop set up, if you get any diffusers set up in advance, and yeah, you might have to adjust that because the light adjusts, obviously, and clouds change and everything else. But if you're 90% of the way there before you put that plate down, you can shoot that very, very quickly. But if you plate that dish and then you set your lighting and your camera and your tripod and everything else up, yeah, you're going to eat cold. So I think, thinking ahead, this is also great for families, because if you are feeding kids, I do not have kids. My brother has 5. I have watched how intense that dinner time is at their house, and they don't want cold food. So I think, it's definitely worth it to think ahead. From a sauce side of things, it depends on what you're working with. I think that sauces tend to hard up and solidify quickly, especially pasta sauces, things like this. So for me, I will get, if I'm doing something like that and I had a backdrop down, I would have my camera on a tripod. I would have a diffuser set up. If there's any black cards, like the whole 9 yards, everything is set. Plate is down. I will shoot an image of that plate with a stand-in, maybe a lemon or something that I have, get my lighting just so, and then I'll plate it right away. So then basically what that does, one of two things: your sauce looks on point, your food is hot. Hot food that's meant to be hot will always photograph better than hot food that's cold, always. And you want that natural steam, you want the natural glisten, the oil that comes off of steak as soon as you cut it open, or the oil of the olive oil on top of a pasta or something like that. The other thing is, if you're putting any herbs on top of it, like basil, they wilt really quickly. So it's just to say, you need to have a lot of thoughtfulness going into it. If you do, you'll eat hot food, which is the first question, and the images will look better and not kind of harden up on you. Second question.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Chris asks a question for Dennis. Any tips for setting up photos of takeout food from, let's say, a food truck?
Yeah. So if you're there and have access, often food trucks have picnic tables or something like that. I would absolutely take advantage of that. What I love to do is, I COVID restrictions notwithstanding. So I understand not everywhere is as available to be as free with other humans. When we are, what I typically love to do is have several humans around that, so you have some hands getting in the mix, so it looks like a big family style meal, so it becomes more of a lifestyle scene as well. I think creating lifestyle scenes do one of two things. It creates an accessibility, because we all love eating with people, and we all love going to a food truck or going to a restaurant, eating together. It also is great if you're looking to get your name out there as a food photographer in your town. It's a great move to incorporate the surroundings, and then even potentially take an image with the truck, something like that. Go back to the owner, the proprietor of that restaurant, of that food truck, of that whoever, say, look, I took these images after you've edited them. I took these images. Would love if you want to use them. Great. Just would love you to credit me. They will be blown away that you did that. And who are they going to call when they need photos done? The person who went out of their way to offer to give them those photos. It's going the extra mile. People often in the restaurant game, they go, I don't know why I can't get any work. I'm like, go to that restaurant, take images, give them to the restaurant. It took you an hour or two of your time, that you will get work from them down the road. And most of these restaurants and food trucks are owned by chains who own several. I've seen this work time and time again for people who are trying to get their name out there in the restaurant scene. So it's definitely worth the hustle.
Cool. Neaton S asks, are you shooting tethered? And if so, are you shooting it to CP1 or Lightroom?
I often shoot tethered. I don't always shoot tethered. I often do, and to Lightroom.
Okay, cool. Priyanka asks, such a great journey. Thanks for sharing about your culinary journey and would love to know about how you learned food photography. Any videos, books, blogs you recommend?
That's a wonderful question. So, and I learned through I learned through trial and error. Honestly, like, let's be super transparent and super real for a second. I learned because I failed a lot. And I think that often, we shy away from that word. We kind of hate it, but the reality is you only take great images because you've taken a lot of bad ones. And that's the same thing with everything in life. When I'm a big motorcycle guy. But the first time I got on a motorcycle, I was terrified. Had no idea what I was doing. Now it's like second nature. I don't think about it, but it's because I took a lot of time to practice it. Photography is the exact same thing. You have to pick up your camera and shoot. When I started taking photos, there wasn't, like I mentioned before, YouTube was a very new thing. Social media just in general was a very, very new thing. So I couldn't learn what you can learn now, having access to blogs and to different accounts. There are a ton of people now over the past few years that have written very, very food photography focused books, sometimes cookbooks, who are, their whole goal is to empower food photographers at home. For me, I just learned because what I would do is I'd look at a scene, I would take an image, and then I would move 2 or 3 inches to the left, and I'd take an image and I'd compare them and say, what do I like about this light? What do I not like about this light? What do I do like? All of it was just me analyzing photos and analyzing how the light was hitting this and learning, just really putting the work in. So, I said a few minutes ago not to take 100 images. When I started, I took 1,000.
Yeah.
Because but I analyzed every single one, and I really dove deep into what it was that I loved, but also what I didn't love. Keep doing what I love, correct what I didn't love, and kind of go from there. But like I said, there are a number of people out there. I wish I could say one specific. I can't. But I know that now we do live in a different world. And there's some YouTubers that are literally committed just to teaching people how to do food photography.
Cool. Althea has a question here for you. Can you talk a little bit about the business side? How to break into doing food photography professionally?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're doing restaurant photography, I'll kind of answer both sides of things. If you're doing restaurant specific photography, which I would gather is most of the folks who would be starting and potentially aspiring to do things like magazines or cookbooks down the road, you will not start out doing magazines and cookbooks. Like, that's just, let's be real. Those are, you have to kind of go through the ground floor motion until you get to that place, but it's absolutely doable. You can absolutely get there. I think the best way to do that is to build an incredible CV and a portfolio by going to your favorite restaurants, taking great images. The best thing you can do, if you're, most of us are working a job that isn't photography. So it's a challenge, because if you're going to your work from 9 until 6, 9 until 5, and it's getting dark. If you live in Canada, I mean, in most of the year, it gets dark at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. So you're probably not going to a restaurant. So know that, and block out a few hours on Sunday afternoon or Saturday afternoon and go to your favorite restaurant, walk in. When you go in, talk to the person who's going to give you a seat, and literally say, I'm a food photographer. I cannot wait to eat here. I've heard incredible things. I'm so excited. Would you mind if I took photos?
Yeah.
And just ask them. That goes so far. I know, like, guys, I know you don't have to ask, but it goes so far in just from a courtesy side of things. Often you asking just that will mean that the chef will find out immediately, because they want you to take the best images possible of their food, because they know they're going to hit social, or they know they're going to hit somewhere else. So they're going to say, and also say, hey, I see this table over here. Look for the table with the best light that's right by the window. And if somebody's already sitting there, just say, I don't mind waiting. Can I wait at the bar? Can I wait here? I'll just have a coffee while I wait for that table. They're not going to mind. Go to that table. You're already half the way there. You're set up for success. You've done your due diligence. You're kind. You've been gracious to the restaurant, and you're sitting in the best spot. I can't even tell you how many times that means that you'll get 2 or 3 extra dishes to shoot, that the restaurant will do you really good while you're in there. shoot those images, do great work. Like I said, offer them to the restaurant, just ask them to credit you if you use them. They will come back to you. It works. It just works. The hustle works. Because often we think, well, we need to get paid for our work. Well, okay, well, what's your work? What have you done? Well, I haven't done anything. Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to go out and hustle for that work. And if you want to get paid for that, often it means you doing something for free first. I did that for years. It probably took me 4 years, 5 years in the culinary scene, both from a chef side of things and a photography side of things, where I wasn't living meal to meal, like just being very, very real. It took a long time. The hustle that I did is no different than the hustle you could do. There's room for everybody in it. It's just actually going out and making it happen for yourself.
Cool. That's awesome. Thank you. I think we got time for one more question. This comes from Christian. Hey, Dennis, has food photography ever started or passed over the line of feeling like work? And how do you professionally find the motivation to keep pushing out consistently excellent photos? Very true.
Oh, how real do we want to get with this question? I can answer really real.
Get real, man.
Okay. Yes, it has.
Yeah.
The more that you do, when I was a musician, eventually it became work, because all I was trying to do was make a hit song when I was living in Nashville. And then it wasn't fun anymore. Like, at some point it didn't become fun. I loved picking up my guitar, but I didn't love going to the studio, truthfully. I think that from a photography side of things, a few years ago, I made a mistake of working on a job, and I'm not embarrassed about the job. It wasn't bad work or anything like that, but I didn't necessarily love what I was doing. I didn't align with the brand that I was working with in the best way that I could with the things that I stand for. And I, after that, just made a hard choice of, if this doesn't go through the zeitgeist of, or through the lens, of how I want my work to go, I'm not going to do it. I think that often, saying no is very, very important when it comes to your business. Saying yes is also important. And often when you start, you need to say yes. And I needed to say yes at that time. But when I look back today, I would have said no. And for me, I've determined that kind of, your why, your Simon Sinek thing, where it's like, what's your why with your business? For me, I determined that my why is that I want to inspire people to move from the couch to the kitchen, because the byproduct of the kitchen is the table. And I think that we need more time societally spent at the table. And I want to inspire moments at the table. So, and I already said that before, but what I'm saying is, from a business side of things now, if something doesn't filter through couch to kitchen to table, it's not right for me. So I think because I have that now, because I know that that's my filter, it's not work for me anymore, because I know that at the end of the day, I get the opportunity to inspire deliciousness and community and passion in the kitchen and at the table. So that's an honor. If it's outside of that, I'm probably not going to love it. I love driving fast cars if I ever would have the opportunity to be in one or drive, but I have no idea how to fix one. Like, if it breaks down on the side of the road, I'm going to call a mechanic. Like, I have no passion for that. So for me I couldn't, if you said, hey, do you want to come on with the Downtown Camera live stream and talk about your how to fix a car? Like, no. I got 30 seconds for you, but I can talk about community and food all day long. And I'm excited about that. So that doesn't feel like work for me.
That's awesome. Dennis, this hour flew by quick. We can't thank you enough for being here. Can't thank Canon enough for helping us set this up. It's been insightful. Questions keep on going, but it's now time for us to end. So thank you for being a part of this event. Thank you for all the inspiration. Hopefully we could take something from this and we could start moving forward with creating more awesome work and, hey, taking more better pictures of food. So thank you.
You're welcome. And if I can say one final thing to the folks who are watching, I really mean it when I say the creative community is the best community on the planet. If you don't have access to a community right now, go find people either online or in your community who love to take photos, who love to go take photos of restaurants or go in the woods and take photos. Find that creative community to lift you up. It's vitally important. And also find that online. Honestly, it will inspire you every single day to just go out and make your work. But it's an honor to connect with you guys here. Thanks to Downtown Camera. for having me. Big fan of your store. I would have been to the new one if it wasn't that I'm not able to get on a plane for the last little bit. But as soon as I can, I'm going to come hang out with you guys. And thanks to Canon as well. But really, more than that, thank you to you folks and everybody who's tuned in to watch. I don't take that lightly. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. And thanks for caring about what I do.
Cool. All right, Dennis. Thanks again, man. You have yourself a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace. Okay, you still there, brother?
Yeah.
Give me a second, okay?